So what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
And we're celebrating Arizona some more again.
Why not? Yes.
Boy, I can't think of a reason ever to not celebrate Arizona. And we hope that a lot of you love celebrating Arizona and therefore are along for the ride.
And thank you for being with us. As we get this celebrating on the road, where will you take us today?
I am taking us today south to Tucson to the Rillito River.
Oh,
which
yes.
is one of the places in Arizona that has, I want to say, celebrating two languages rather than just naming places badly. Rillito River,
Yes.
Little River in Spanish, river.
Yes.
But something made me, I was down there yesterday, and I thought Rillito just kind of has wound through my life and deserves its own attention. It crosses a lot of things. It goes all the way. Well, Sabino feeds into it, correct? So way east. And I know that Tanque Verde Wash and anyway, way east and all across the entire city does some damage. What used to do damage at overpasses.
Sure.
So it's
I'll have to do some research and see. I know where I would go to meet the river, but I don't know where it starts and finishes.
Well,
that particular river. Yeah. And so, and kind of and all that feeds it. So that'd be
where
fun
would you
to
go?
find out. Yeah. Well, I would go, there's the Bat Bridge on Campbell and the river up by River Parkway. Just south of River Parkway, there is a bridge that is Campbell Road across the river, and there are bats that will take up residence there at the end of summer.
We grew up south, not very south of the Rillito. And so when I was pretty young, it was just kind of always there. And then when I got older, when we were young, or even when I was older, I would go to the folks' house. And if it was running, it was worth walking up to see. Because rivers are not very often running in Arizona. And so it's in Tucson, big deal.
Yes.
And I would go up and we would watch it. Now, of course, the River Parkway lets you walk by it for long ways, which is lovely. Back then, you could kind of only see it from the major streets.
Yeah.
And then I bought a townhouse right next to Tucson Racquet Club.
Yep.
And so it was like past Dodge, north of Country Club.
Yep.
And that's the only time I've ever paid flood insurance. Was at that townhouse, because the Rillito could be quite something. In the flood in '83, I was brand new reporting at Kagan, and a brand new photographer and I were sent out to the Tanque Verde area, and it was rising. Both of us were like, oh my gosh, going over the bridge. And when we came back, it was licking the bottom edge of the bridge.
Oh my goodness.
Which really did seem like a parallel universe. We were surprised and a little.
Yeah, I've never seen a flow like that in that river.
That's the only time I ever did. When I was a grade school kid, we would walk to Whitmore School, and now there's a bridge, and then there wasn't. And during those days, and so we couldn't cross during storms.
Yeah.
And frequently, and I'm thinking a dozen times in my growing up years, a car would go in and get swept away.
Wow.
A lot of people overestimate their vehicle in flooded rapids in Tucson. I never watched one.
Phoenix
but
too. There's nearly always footage. We don't see full rivers much, and probably think of them even less. And so as drivers in Arizona, just don't expect that it's really going to be an issue, but it really, really is an issue.
Yeah. The biggest
emotional event with me in the Rillito was I had pressed charges against a guy who had wanted to date me more than I wanted to him, and he had done some really weird stuff in my life, sending letters threatening other people who knew me and all sorts of stuff. So I finally pressed charges, then saw the movie about Jesus and realized or was struck by the revelation, you're not the judge of people. So my car swamped out and I walked to a little key shop and called the guy and said, I'm dropping charges. Do what you'll do. I'm dropping charges. That is not my job. And went home to my little townhouse. And part of me was really mad because I wanted to be the judge. And I thought, you're not the judge. And I climbed over the retaining wall into the running water. Not my brightest move.
Again, not
I wanted
recommended.
something to take. And so, stuff's hitting me as it's going by, but I wasn't knocked over. And I got to confront nature and didn't get beaten by it and thought, okay, I feel better now. Climb back out. And now the Rillito is a beautiful place because that's where we put the bench commemorating Larry with his wonderful quote that he used initially describing the Colorado River. The river is still running. Yeah. And when I was fritzing, he would say, the river is still running, to picture, okay, it is, it's there. So we put his dates and name, and the river is still running. And it's beautifully placed. It's right at the Swan parking lot park. Yeah. And we can walk to the Craycroft Bridge and the Alvernon Bridge in a good walk. And Lindsay and I do that a lot. I've done it a couple times, other places. But it's a lovely, lovely place. And it's nice to have the bench there because it was certainly a part of all of our lives growing up.
Oh, yes. No, that's marvelous. I always loved that parkway. And there was another park that I accessed it from, and I would often see hawks. And I was coming in from the south side of the river, and I'm trying to remember exactly where, but it was a wonderful place to be very near to very real nature while you were still in town.
And some of the scents, especially when it's running, and the sound when it's running. And there's a tree, I think it's an Arizona ash maybe, that smells so spicy and sweet and wonderful that I get a lot of whiffs of down that. Yeah, it's a good place.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you for taking us there.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for going. Yeah. So let's break and see where the world leads us next.
Okay, very good.
AZ250, the commission helping us all celebrate the nation's 250th birthday, is putting together 250 treasures around the state. The first 25 being honored include the Tubac Presidio. It's about 45 minutes south of Tucson, but you can feel in another century. The adobe, charming crooked streets, repurposed old buildings around the original Presidio make it a fascinating place to visit. And when you're done with history, shopping and meals and arts may not be done with you. Enjoy. Where do we head now, celebrating Arizona?
We are going to my backyard growing up, because it is about the time of year when Arizonans begin scalping their Bermuda grass to plant winter rye. And that is my favorite of all of the grasses. And it was my favorite. It was like the scalping part was my least favorite because it looked so sad and brown and bare, like a kid that's just, been buzz cut for the first time.
And then the
so
manure
sad.
that
right.
is so
yes,
important.
Right. Yeah. But when the winter ryegrass would grow up tall and thick, it was so soft in a way that the Bermuda never is. We get there a little bit out of order today because after the All Souls series, I was thinking about what I wanted to write about next. And so I thought I'd look to some of my favorite poets for ideas and came upon Walt Whitman, who wrote a collection called Leaves of Grass. And that's what got me to thinking about grasses in Arizona, which and my favorite one, and that wonderful feeling of when it was cool afternoons that I would come home from school and sit out in the backyard with my textbook, and the dog would come by and want some rubs, but it was the cat who would come by and and sort of pad through the grass. And the grass was so soft and thick that you could, watch her footprints. You could watch the grass give under her little cat feet, like a Sandberg poem. She would rub both sides of her nose onto my textbook, and then she would walk into the middle of it and plop down. So there would be no more reading possible.
Oh,
And
darn.
which I took as a cue that, well, I guess both of us need a nap now. And so she would nap on my textbook, and I would lay back in the grass and nap.
Oh.
And we don't always do it anymore. There are lots of families that have gotten into Xeriscape for water reasons, and God bless them. It's always interesting when you see parts of parks that reseed, or parts of golf courses, and the places that are reseeded versus not. That was one of my favorite feelings, was that grass under my hands, as I would sit down, or as I would, balance, as I was, as the cat was getting herself situated. So, hoping that you will find a patch of grass of your very favorite that makes you equally happy at any season at all, because there's nothing wrong with Bermuda grass. We've fed it often to our horses.
Well, and sometimes... and I have pictures. When Tom and I moved in here, it was a while before we could put a lawn in for the kids.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be damned impressive.
Yes.
It's not consistent, but boy, when you hit it, it's really fun.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't mow it. He did. But yes, the lushest is definitely the winter, at least in Arizona. Lindsay had Santa Ana in California, which was pretty nice.
And that's a funny part about Arizona, right? Is that the very greenest season is deep winter. when we've had the most rains,
in Tucson
when we
and
have
Phoenix,
when we've had that's right, in Tucson and Phoenix. Yes, not all of Arizona, but in the desert cities.
And that scent, the freshly mown grass, is not better than mesquite in a storm, but it's certainly evocative of, at least to me, childhood in Tucson. When my dad would mow.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a boy, is that a deep breath scent. That's I think, conifers, when you first get the wisp of the kind of the hot pine, the warming pine sap, or the creosote after rain, or or mown grass. These are for sure. Yeah. These are take a deep breath moments.
Yeah, and take you back frequently.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Terrific.
So I have a poem about grass, but we can do that after we break again.
All right. Well, let's break again so we can hear the poem. Thanks to Visit Flagstaff, providing all kinds of information to all of us, I have learned things I never knew. For instance, Lumberyard Brewing Company not only shows you your guest faces, the San Francisco peaks, and passing trains in one view, but it's in a building that was part of an actual lumberyard at the end of the 1800s. I'd never known that. Once you get into town, drop into the historic train depot, which you can see from Lumberyard Brewing, before you set out for anywhere else. You're going to learn something. Visit Flagstaff.
As promised.
Poem time.
Yes, or as alluded to. So Walt Whitman's, it was actually a collection of poetry called Leaves of Grass. It was not one poem, it was several poems. And the first poem is entitled, I Celebrate Myself. And for anybody who has heard or recalls Song of Myself, Whitman isn't shy about about praising all kinds of things of his anatomy and his surroundings and his feelings about all of them. And
while we've all been taught not to do that, if we were a tenth of that inside, appreciating who we get to be, who we inhabit on this earth, and all the things we could do, that would make the whole world a much better place.
Yes, it would probably make us happier, among other things, because we would feel, I suppose, greater license to be
Yeah.
celebrants. Um, and uh, and I suppose there is a difference. There's self-promotion, which we see a lot on social media, and then there is delight and self-praise and celebrancy. And I think those are different. And arguably, if you listen to enough of Whitman, it's going to be immaterial. It's going to, it's going to be, oh, right, I'm very happy for you, but can't we be moving on here?
I think we should do it internally.
Yes. Okay. That's probably fair. And so I did not do the whole poem of I celebrate myself. I did sort of a first part for exactly that reason, because at some point, you're really hoping that this becomes an internal dialogue. But I called it a sprig of grass. And so it's told from this is the grass speaking about itself.
Okay.
I raise myself, and what I feel, you will feel, for every root feeding me shall feed you. I grow and honor the sun. I sprout and grow as is my nature, despite changing sleeve lengths on passers-by. Paths flatten further underfoot, the earth pressed by paving. I fold to the weight of walkers, then stand and smile. That exultant off-road traffic would crush me, but I reclaim my height. Turf is not a velvet to be cut to clothe. It has no need of corners. It lives best edgeless. It is my wild orgy. I am entwined with it. I will reach my roots past the smack of sidewalk. I am so eager to stretch beyond scape or shape. The give of my groupings, buoyant under bare feet, soft, tufted, still, verdant, thick, my breath, your air, my green, your ease, my cuttings, the aroma of spring itself, pasture to your peace, meadow of daydreams, my touch, the cool of caves, my damp, a valentine from rain. We embrace. You throw out your arms, make angels of my blades. We both leave something of ourselves on the other, our play intimate, or among the silliness of outfield crowds, or on your back pockets, brushed away, though evergreen, when you gather yourself for home.
Oh, Valentine, read that line again. I love that.
Oh, yes. And my damp, a valentine from rain.
That is so
Yeah.
beautiful. That is
Yeah.
truly lovely. Oh,
Yeah, I had fun with that.
the podcast dog had something else to do. So this is from Chief Yellow Host Lives On. As a matter of fact, I remember writing this. I was at a workshop at the U of A where Barbara Kingsolver was going to be the keynote speaker.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
they were doing work. They were doing stuff that they do at things like this that is important to the people who are on the committee, but not necessarily the rest of us. And a lot of the time by then I was writing on my laptop or a computer, and I thought, let's just see if you can still do a yellow pad and a pen. So this particular piece I did, yellow pad and pen, and it's from Chief Yellow Horse, and it's something like When It Rains, They Run, but a piece about rivers in general. And it certainly includes the Rillito. When it rains, they run. Arizona's rivers and washes soar to life after a rainstorm, like someone added water to concentrated crystals to create megamondo floods. Not just water casually filling the dry washes and low, dusty river bends. Not just runoff seeking larger tributaries. This is surging, unleashed water with an attitude. Water with a fist, planning a breakout. The term river is largely ceremonial in desert Arizona, but after 2 days of raging rain, it runs double time, bank to bank. I leave my napping baby daughter with my mom and race up to the Rillito. A sinkhole is forming on the jogging path I've run for years. What I know is altered. This is a parallel universe, Tucson. A storm makeover. I hear that Oak Creek has slipped its banks and washed over the park at Los Abrigados Resort. So now the bridge I walked across with my dad to marry Tom is swept away. I'm reminded that we are not in charge. Nature permits us to live here, like a management company. But the true owner can, and does, come in and make changes. Our landscaping is a privilege, not a right, that can be revoked. Water in Arizona is like northern lights, brief, dazzling, powerful, and more meaningful because of its rarity.
Oh, amen. And I love water with a fist. That's so great. That's so great. I was in Houston visiting family, and I was looking up at the clouds, and it was a storm front coming in. And I remember describing to my dad, Dad, these are clouds with an agenda. These are professional clouds. These are.
Oh, yeah.
And he was laughing, but that's what I needed. These are clouds with a fist, Dad. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Now, because, many reasons probably, the Rillito River does not sell coffee mugs. It's not around much, but today's mug is a very, 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 very old touchstone to not far from my house, Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yes.
And for all the businesses that have closed and opened and changed around it, Dunkin' Donuts. And not the point, but they used to sell a toasted coconut encrusted cream or not donut that was so wonderful.
Oh, my.
That's gone now.
Yeah.
I want one in heaven. But in the meantime, I can look at the mug and remember the donut.
Fantastic. Oh, goodness. I'm glad to have been by rivers and in green places and to hear and be part of words of praise for all of them. So thank you.
My folks were married, I think they were together 70 years and married 69. And frequently, Mom would get up early, come out to the kitchen dressed for the day. And frequently, my dad would come out however much later in the same color. It was just something that they did. They were like, oh, again. And once in a while, you and I celebrate a similar aspect of Arizona.
Yes.
So today gets to be a day that we celebrate what water does. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, freshness.
Yeah.
That's a good,
Yeah,
fertility.
very good.
Fecundity? Is fecundity a real thing?
I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
But our show, our vocabulary, yes, it is for purposes of this show.
Our rules.
Yes, excellent. Yes.
Well, thanks everybody for being here with us to celebrate freshness and things.
May the days ahead be verdant and lovely.
Nice.
Bye for now.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney. And I'm Dana Cooper.